I'm gonna go on the chat myself, and when people start talking, I'll
Hey there,
I'll be doing
BookTube.
my own shit posting. Oh, hey everybody,
Noah.
hi.
Everyone who reads the Must Converses the channel. There's PG. I ain't finna read that. Hey,
Hello,
brother.
BookTube. Yeah, what's
Heck
happening,
yeah.
y'all? Hey, we're live. Look at that. Let's
We're
see here.
live and we're doing a story that, I mean, I never thought I was going to create content on, to tell you the truth.
I thought you didn't do this already.
I did. It took 2 or 3 reads of this book, of this story right here, to even, and also you being down for it as well, for me to even consider, you know, doing content on this book. So this short story here is not for everybody. That's an understatement. It might not be for anybody.
Oh, it does have a fan. If Two Girls One Cup have showed me anything, it's that there's a market for anybody.
There's a
And
market.
if you like that, you're gonna love the Suffering Channel.
Yeah, so we're gonna get really into it tonight. David Foster Wallace does some unbelievable, ridiculous stuff with this short story. It will blow your mind. And yeah, um, we did read Mr. Squishy. We've read the whole Oblivion short story collection, PG and I, and another booktuber, Starscream Live. Not a booktuber, but just a wonderful reader. And he was
Yeah.
in on this. We talked all through it, and now we're finally tackling this short story. Okay, and you can check it out, the Mr. Squishy discussion, on my channel. PG is actually there for that discussion as well. I think we did a great job with it. I mean, of course, there's more to unpack, just like there's going to be a lot more to unpack here. We're going to talk all through it. So if you haven't read it, I would say read it before for sure. But there is no spoiling this. There is some kind of thing, some kind of questioning that you have that is revealed at the end, but it's not a big kind of reveal
Yeah.
that the book hinges, or the story hinges on. So
Yeah,
there's not any real.
talking about what happens in the book is not the same as talking as saying what the book is about. Because it's
That's right.
not. It's what happens in the book is not what the book's about.
Right. Right. All right. So let's just get to it. What we have. The Suffering Channel is a media channel, like a television channel, cable channel, that is one of a few channels that is under the umbrella of this company, that also does magazines, also does other kind of media. And we are following a, a journalist for Style magazine, and he has a lead, right? He has a lead, and this lead, this story that he wants to cover, is the story of Brent and Amber. Um, and Brent is this artist. He refers to him many times in this as the artist. He's the artist, and it begs the question: is it art? Is there skill involved here? Is there, you know what I mean? Is it art like that? But we'll dig all into that in a minute. What he does, and I'm just gonna, we might as well just put it out there. This is not for the family viewing. This is not for, the this is for someone with a strong stomach. This kind of story. So what Brent does is he uh, excretes and poops out a sculpture, and his actual shit is in the form of a sculpture, right? And very detailed and very highly
And
highly
he says
crafted.
that these are actual sculptures, like sculptures that you know. Like he'll poop out the Venus de Milo in poop, and you won't be like, wow, what? You'll be like, who crafted the Venus de Milo in brown clay? Let's hope. Let's hope we think it's clay first, but no, it's poop. And
Yeah,
he didn't sculpt it. It came out. It comes out like a famous work of art, and like stuff like he references sculptures I had to look up. I don't know what the heck these actual art world sculptures are that this guy's pooping out. You know?
right. And it's asked, how do you do it? Of course, our journalist, um, Skip, um, actual name is Virgil, but Skip is the name that we go by all the time through the story. Skip asks him straight out, how do you do it? And he doesn't really know. He Brent, the artist, actually doesn't have any lines hardly in this whole story. He only speaks when really prodded by his wife, and Amber seems to be this very manipulative, um, on point. You know, she's running the show, but Skip is part of Style Magazine, this huge company. Style Magazine is just a part of it, and they are located in Tower One World Trade Center in New York. And Skip, Brent and Amber live in a duplex in Indiana, I believe, and lower middle class, nothing to speak of. And Amber is a big gal. She's a big woman. David Foster Wallace actually says that she's not so much of a woman, but a vista.
Yeah, he was low key roasting her the whole time. Like he was being like he says she's the most like beautiful,
Sexiest.
morbidly obese. Yeah, yeah, morbidly obese woman he's ever
Yeah.
met, ever seen.
And so the story plays this really, really well. It's so fun to to envision the scenes that are going on with this woman has whose elbow is like a knee, this kind of
Yeah,
description, and a face that is like a platter. So
her
she's
thighs
just
are like phases.
she's gigantic, but she is sexy and she's beautiful. And it's like, okay, so we're playing with this beauty and something that might be kind of make you cringe or make you kind of take a step back. The whole story, the whole story. So you had some really cool thoughts. If you want to kick us off into discussion about how David Foster Wallace is juxtaposing these two worlds that we're
Yeah,
in this story.
well, first off, the other half of the way that he describes this girl is almost like he's describing some force of nature or something. Like he's talking about just how overwhelming she is in comparison to him. Like the fact that her face or her head or whatever is like two of his heads, and she's coming on to him in this
Right.
like unstoppable way. It mirrors, how she is in the book. I mean, that's low. I mean, that's easy. Like how the park reference, but yes, she is so powerful. And you mentioned, I wrote it down here. I think, yeah, something. It's very telling to the story how she's literally being more. She's literally morbidly obese and described as beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of the biggest discussion point in this book that the interns over at Style Magazine, when they're, because like half of the book is like Skip talking to the Maltese and trying to like, it's almost like he's trying to get in bed with Amber, not realizing that he's the one being seduced. The fact that he goes over to her and is like, they're excited about it when really they're like, we're not going to run this in our
Right.
magazine.
Right.
Then most of his notes are just descriptions of her and that shorthand that it just looks like squiggles. So, but she might know it because she ends up knowing like a bunch of stuff about
She's
the
really
world.
smart. She's a smart chick. It says that her eyes are very intelligent and this kind of thing from the get-go. and she has plans. I mean, she's got plans, and so you get a sense really quickly that she's running the show, and Skip, um, the journalist, is selling this on all sides, trying to sell it on all
Yeah,
sides
he's
because
trying to sell it to Style magazine, who he's like a salary man for. I don't know what that means. Like he writes articles, like he writes articles because he wasn't, I guess, serious enough to be a serious journalist. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in here. I'm trying. I think I should just describe what happens, you know, all the way through like I do on my channel, just so we have an idea of what the hell we're talking about here.
right,
So it starts off with our guy um, Skip talking to his manager over at Style, and the rest of the story is going to be like skipping between the scenes in Indiana where Skip is dealing with the artist and his wife and their whole world and thinking about his life because David Foster Wallace goes on these like K holes, this crazy memory, rabbit holes all throughout that side of it. And then the other side, there's the people at Style magazine in New York City, and they're and Wallace is describing them with the same, just like all-encompassing view. But through this, through the descriptions and his all-encompassing view, you see such clear pictures of how each person is trying to both fit in and stand out, and what's acceptable and unacceptable in their life. I'm kind of missing what we really discussed,
sure.
in our
Well,
back
I
and
mean,
forth.
what
But
what you
as a
touched
whole,
on, it
mhm,
totally works. We have these two worlds. We have the ultra affluent, high
yeah,
dollar marketing world
there's,
of
there's
the
no there's no woman in Style magazine that weighs over 130, right? Like
right.
they're all
Well, he and he
super.
even said that he noticed that some of these interns like measure out their portions before they eat it on a scale,
Mhm, yeah,
juxtaposing that with Amber. So and that is something that was freeing
that he
and
found
something
attractive. Yeah.
that he enjoyed about it. So us as readers, we're kind of put in this place where, okay, we have a world where it's all about how you look, and people are not trying to differentiate themselves. They're trying to fit into something that is known, accepted widely as beautiful, successful, affluent, that kind of thing. And then we
Yeah.
have the world of the artist and his wife, where they have no, it's just
Well, the
look.
thing is, like, they almost can't help but fit in. Like the fact of what they are, like even in their descriptions, like their front porch. He describes there being the spray paint on the ground when what they call them engineering specs. There's that on the
Mhm.
ground. There's
Yeah,
accoutrement on the lawn, like gnomes. There's like a beetle on the window,
yeah,
a ceramic
the
white
scarab
beetle
beetle.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, you've probably seen that in like Ace Hardware, or you know
right.
what I mean?
Oh,
Like
and
these
the
are
and the
things
and
that
the
are
holster with the
ubiquitous.
American flag on the front of the house. You know, and they're just the great unwashed. They are part of the masses. They are already part of it, and he's looking to, or Amber is looking to bring herself or bring them some kind of notoriety, get their 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to think of who that reminds me of. Like any character that just like wanted to be famous, wanted to. I know that's like something. I know there are like really famous characters that have had that, and I can't think of like any how do you say what's the word? I can't think of any examples of that. Um, Blanking on it.
Well, I tell you, it really strikes you hard because Skip is thrown out of his element, although he's really ready to enter to any environment and just get his story right. And this is so weird, and how it plays out is so weird. Amber turns out to be the one running the show, and actually grabs some time alone with Skip in his rental Chevy Cavalier, this little compact. crap
Yeah.
car,
In the
and
middle of a storm. Yeah.
yeah, and comes
So they're
onto
not
an
going anywhere.
no, he's not going anywhere. It's raining outside. I mean, he's just, this storm comes through, and they're in this Cavalier, and Amber just has her, kind of way with him, right? Um, it's it it's cringy, but it also is like, okay, this is something that happened. But for the rest of the story, he's suffering from that
Yeah.
with his knee, because this huge,
Yeah.
glacier of a woman is
Oh,
has come
fixing
onto
up.
him, and he hurt his knee,
Yeah.
and he's nursing it for the rest of the story. And so we get that, and there's that line just at the end of one of the sections in part 4 where he says, uh, is it ignanimous? How he felt about his knee is ignanimous. Something, I might not be pronouncing it just right because I had to learn that word.
Yeah.
And
I remember looking at it
the
too.
word is something that brings you shame or disgrace. So it's almost like he feels like he's been taken advantage of, or he's been had. Like she really is the one calling the shots, even once they get to a point where they're going to run this. They're going to run this story.
Yeah. And
So
most of the sorry, I
the
was gonna
the
say,
the kind of exploring these worlds, and especially exploring the interns when they're at lunch and talking about this kind of thing, because it's an unbelievable kind of story, what this guy can do and what this art is. That kind of thing is unbelievable. And the whole time as a reader, you're just kind of thinking, is she, you know, molding this poop into sculptures and she's the artist? Or is he doing that? Or, how is this happening? Is it a scam? What's going on here? And with true David Foster Wallace detail, we go all around this until the end of this thing. And so we have many conversations with these interns where they're talking about what constitutes beauty and things that you're kind of disgusted by. They talk about blood, they talk about skin, they talk about different different aspects of the body. And it is really, really interesting to jump into, skin being beautiful. There's many times when you see somebody and you're like, man, they have such a beautiful skin color, kind of a, and then, but all skin is disgusting if it was, separated from the body and laid out on a table
yeah,
somewhere, right? So there's an aesthetic quality to some of these things that are repugnant. Um, blood being one that has a kind of a blurry line between beauty and off-putting as well, right?
yeah. I'm trying to remember what they were talking about during that scene when they were all at lunch. Before there's that one girl who talks about take when she was younger, she used to like before she flushed her poop down the toilet, she would like pick it up like it was a baby and like caress it and feel sad that she was gonna flush it. And she was saying that to this group of interns because they were all kind of talking about stuff that was
Right.
on the cusp of being gross. And she was expecting someone to be like, "Oh yeah, I used to do that," and no one used to do
No.
that.
And right then, like that's one of the first ones. One of the first of these lunch scenes where the interns are all talking and things, and she becomes like ostracized from the group because of that. It brings it up later in the story, and it's like, well, what is that then? You as a reader think, I mean, I thought, I'm like, well, what is that then? Is that, that's part of the questioning that David Foster Wallace was doing, but he didn't do it explicitly. He just
Yeah,
had it happen. And then you have, you as a reader are going, well, wait, um, is your car, people's cars are their babies, right? People's animals are their babies. My books might be, you know, somebody, my wife might, Emily might say some at some point, go, his books are like all his little children, right? Because I love them, right? I say something like this. So to have kind of a paternal or maternal feeling for something is not uncommon. Well, how about something that was once part of you, but now is no longer? Just because it's poop, is that and it's just like these questions, it goes to a level, David Foster Wallace goes to a level with this kind of questioning where you're just, you I think everybody has to kind of answer it for themselves. And and then kind of what is art. Could art, we have a lot of kind of modern art installations that are, crap. They're made out of garbage, or they are garbage, something like this. And um where does that fit in with this kind of exploration that David Foster Wallace was doing? Also, just to note that this was published in 2004.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think?
mean, hey, man, I don't know what was happening in 2004 in terms of modern art or whatever.
Right.
I That really kind of throws me for a curve because I keep thinking, well, this guy isn't conscious consciously creating these sculptures. They, they even question whether or not he knows what they are, the kinds of sculptures he's creating. Like he
Right.
poops out an Anubis head in full detail, and the thought is, does this guy even know? Because like if you hear this guy talk, this guy has one blurb right in the middle of this of this interview with yes, that's so like colloquial and it's got so many curses in it, talking about his army days, trying to hide the fact that he poops out, shape, and like all the curse words are bracketed out with their equivalent, whatever. Like this guy, he's not winning the Fields Medal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't know if that can be considered art because like, well, could you say the same thing about Yosemite National Park? That
Right.
wasn't created by human hands either, but holy crap, that's the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
Right. Just because it inspires awe, and you're like, wow, how does that happen? And it's something that's like you want to, that you want to kind of engage with, because you're like, how is this possible? What is this? Or just to observe it because it's um unique, or something that might not be duplicated. Is that something? Does that constitute art, or does it constitute, even more pointedly, to, instead of using the word art, maybe we talk about beauty? Okay, because especially with Amber, the way that who she is and the way that she um is 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 this kind of exploration of beauty, and and kind of uh it's just something that beauty, and I don't know what the word to
That
use.
actually brings a little bit more light into that painting that's at the motel that he
Right.
stays at. 'Cause I really had no clue where to piece that in my brain. But there's this painting on the wall that he's obsessed with as he's nursing his knee after what's her name smashed it when they were smashing. There's this, it's like a picture of like that music video for Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel or whatever, where it's
Yeah.
all vegetable face. It's like a big vegetable face, and he's like obsessed with it in a very dark way. Like he's just thinking bad thoughts and has bad feelings, like a dread about looking at this thing, and that is interesting because that is art, but maybe not beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wherein,
Yeah.
wherein the
So
sculpture is
it's a
arguably
famous
beautiful and arguably not art.
it's a famous artist, and I'm not
Oh,
familiar with the artist. So I'm going to just put it up on, I'm going to just show it. This artist had created a whole lot of
Oh, that's
kind of
yeah.
portraits, but everything is food, right? So I'm not familiar with the artist. It's Giuseppe Arcimboldo.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Definitely have to go.
Giuseppe Arcimboldo, an Italian painter. And so I believe maybe that's who a kind of a reproduction of one of his paintings that David Foster Wallace was referring to with that. I'm not sure, but I just kind of assume that. And that kind of plays with the Amber thing too, because obviously she's food obsessed, right? Being morbidly obese like this. But also this is beautiful artwork that has lived through the ages. And it's just there's so much, it's so complex that you can't kind of wade your way through it sometimes.
All right. Oh, you got me there. There's something else I wanted to bring in before I got lost in the sauce. It's the Suffering Channel itself and the guy who runs it.
Let's bring it.
He's like the guy. I think he's the head of Echo Shaft Road. If that's how you pronounce it, so there's like an O with the two dots over it.
There we go.
And
So a
yeah,
couple
these
of
guys
the
are
I'm putting
people.
his name up just because then people can, kind of go check him
So
out.
enjoy that creepy stuff. Um, so this guy, he's like his okay. So like this guy, he's a genius. He's like a television magnate. He's some kind of like if Elon Musk was Rupert Murdoch. Okay, this is who this guy is. And his actual dream is like his what would warm his heart and have him be ready to die at any moment is if he could have a television channel of just celebrities pooping. Now, of course, you and I don't want to see. Well, I don't want to see that.
Right.
But
don't speak for me.
right, right, there's a market for everything, and I think there would be. I mean, there certainly is a market for this. It's just like he is in the book. It's kind of explained like it's ahead of its time, and in a sense, he's ahead of his time. And he has all these different channels that's linked. Is here, and one of these, I think at the beginning of the fourth chapter, there's like a little bit about all the different channels that he
Right.
runs. Gosh, if I can just have this ready, so I'm not freaking out. It's late. Anyway, he's known primarily for the all ads all the time channel,
Right.
which apparently people can tell the difference between an ad that they've curated and an ad that's been paid for, which is hilarious. There's stuff about celebrity lifestyles, and and shocking moments in couples counseling, and so the idea of an entire channel that's just pictures and videos of people enduring the worst moments of their lives. In context, when I sat back and read it, it made a bit. It's not as outlandish as one would think. I mean, that's why Live Leak is around because people want to see people burn alive and stuff. Um, so it's like it kind of made sense because each of these things are just vibes, like a mood that you just turn on and kind of vegetate out, experiencing things. What's the word? I don't know the word. Vicariously, yeah.
Yeah.
You had a reference about the what was that show you were talking about? The Bachelor or something? Where
Yeah,
the
like
women
well, I'm in both,
iron?
not bachelor or bachelorette, but both, and it's this kind of idea, in the Suffering Channel when it goes just to the Suffering Channel itself, it's described of, there's that list of what is available on the Suffering Channel, and at first you think, oh my God, nobody would want to watch this stuff. Who would want to watch this? But as I was reading it, and I've read this story a couple of times now. So as I was read it and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, of course people would watch it. People would watch it all the time because you got a person, people getting root canal with no anesthesia. just people in the midst of the worst suffering ever. And I thought, of when I I don't watch TV, but the
Mm.
TV is on at my house sometimes, and I'll see, what's on and things like this. And the commercials for things like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette are nothing but the, drama. And you have women just busting out crying right there. And, you don't know why they're crying. You have no context for their crying. It's just anguish. And it's just clips of anguish and fighting and people, yelling at each other, things like this. And I think, well, this is, people, this is what sells. People want to get into and see other people, suffering, going through hardship. And this is that magnified by, 10 or 100, the way that David Foster Wallace is going to do. So this is where the Suffering Channel is where Brent's artwork finds its market.
It's like the only place where they could figure out that they could actually sell it there, because it couldn't work on any of the different sections of Style magazine because of the poop element, right?
Right.
I forgot where else they were trying to sell it, but that was like that was like the point almost of all the conversation they were having. It's like, okay, we got this thing that no one else has. It's
Right.
got to be worth something, but where the heck do you sell it?
How do you
And
show it? Yeah.
yeah, the Suffering Channel is it.
Yep.
That's what they settled on anyway.
It's wild. And you go all through this with them. It's very, and there's parts that are just like super technical. You have the I guess a kind of technician there to verify this and that, verify the
Like
sample.
the whole book is freaking written in jargon, man. Like,
Right.
and at the same time, I did feel like it was a little bit easier to read than the other stories in this book. Like, it's easier to read than Mr. Squishy for damn sure.
For sure.
And even another pioneer. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's still, it gives you a good shoulder, a good arm's length distance to it.
And see, another pioneer is so many layered, like the narrative is so layered that you kind of get lost and you're like, wait, what is the story? What's the actual story? And what is, inference or embellishment and other stories on top? With this, I don't see so much nesting of narratives as in a lot of things that are in Oblivion here. But with Mr. Squishy, the jargon is off the charts. I mean, it's unbelievable how much jargon is in Mr. Squishy. And David Foster Wallace really shines with that kind of stuff, with jargon, and really being in a world where you're not, part of a world where, how much research must he have done? But see, he was writing this. This is one of the last things that David Foster Wallace wrote in his life. For anybody unaware, David Foster Wallace committed suicide, and he was in the middle of writing a book called The Pale King. There's a lot of kind of thematic elements in Oblivion that are also in The Pale King. So I hear. I haven't read The Pale King, but I did get this book, and I thought, this will be cool. Let me get some secondary sources to help me through understanding Oblivion a little bit better. It's called Nature's Nightmare. I'm going to show it, but I'm not going to recommend it because I've actually gotten 0 out of this book through our whole reading, brother. The guy is like,
like, what's the title mean? Because like they mentioned it in the story.
In this story, in this story, it has that line. There's like a line break, and then it says consciousness is nature's nightmare. So being self-aware, like the self-aware consciousness, us doing what we're doing on this discussion right here, trying to figure things out, being aware and trying to say, well, what does it mean then? What does beauty mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? Figuring that stuff out, that is nature's nightmare. So very nihilistic, very, pessimistic view of being a human being, right? Because if all of our faculties to try to, understand it and try to, work things out, and even just being self-reflective and knowing that we are a being and knowing mortality and having this kind of thing that separates us from a dog or an animal, for example, something like this. If that is described as a nightmare, then it's completely,
Yeah. Also, the guy who wrote that killed himself. So maybe grain of
right,
salt.
right. Well, that's what is that? Good
That's
old
Dark
neon,
Joke.
baby. Good old neon.
You
What
know,
up?
I gotta reread that because that went clear over my head, dude.
But that is,
Clear.
see, and with good old neon, I think that David Foster Wallace showed the most of explicitly like how his mind undermines itself to
Yeah.
stay in a very unhappy, searching, never can rest anywhere kind of spot.
You
And
mean
it's
undermine
true.
himself, not like he's trying to undermine it, but
Right,
like his best efforts are always going in the opposite direction or something.
right. Yeah, because you can always, say, well, why are you doing that? If you're doing it for a reason, then you're faking. Then it's not authentic. If you're doing it for a reason, then it's not authentic, and therefore you're not being an authentic self. And
You mean like art?
right? Well,
Maybe I'm
and
like
so and okay, so let's go all the way. Let's kind of see if we can go all the way with this thing. Um, Brent is the artist. That is the words. That is how he's described in the story. So we have to assume that he is the artist. He's an artist. So he has no skill, as you said. He might not even know what it is that he's creating. Um, that does that matter? I think in this context of the story, it doesn't matter. I think it's showing that beauty and art happen unconsciously or subconsciously. The consciousness is nature's nightmare, and the subconscious or the unconscious is where this kind of um, beauty and art and the world as it is, kind of exists. We didn't make it. It's not consciously happening. It's happening on a deeper level. And so I think it's driven home by the wonderful kind of climax of this story, where at the end, you have all your doubts um, kind of alleviated, where you think, is this a scam? Is this, what's really going on here? And it is happening. In true David Foster Wallace fashion, this thing is unbelievable, surreal, and over the top. And he does um, poop out on the Suffering Channel the winged victory, right? Does he know what the winged victory is? Does he know what he's done? Doubt it. Doubtful. But it is happening. So what is being said? I think that it's that kind of thing, that the underneath, the thing that we can't really rationalize and speak into. We can't use our words to like get there. That there is a beautiful kind of reality there, and um everything on top of it, everything that we can talk about is shit.
okay. So I feel like within your example, like as a closed circuit, it is fine, it works, but I don't think that that's really how it is because I mean art does kind of exist in this like opaque way, like if you do a realistic a portrait of like a lamp or something, or of a flower. And it's just a bit of realism. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of attention, a lot of time, or even a little less so. Let's say it's impressionistic or whatever. But even still, you in your mind, you know how you want it to look. You know the play with light that you want, and you do that with the logical side of your brain applied. It's still beautiful, even though it came about this mechanical way. It affects you in that other way. It affects you in a from that place of gosh,
Like in an emotional way.
consciousness. Yeah, it just is. Yeah.
How about
That's
a
it.
Jackson Pollock then?
Well, if we're talking about shit, then yeah, I guess we're closer to. No, I mean that's kind of that also I guess it still speaks to you in that way. I don't really understand the zeitgeist of what was happening when you started doing that thing. But yeah, I think everything, I mean, everything that you can exist and like experience with your senses, you you experience it with the senses, but your experience, like the way that you view your senses, is from the other side of it, where there are no senses, where there's just experience. And so, like, okay, well, I'm getting a little occultist here, but
I
yeah,
like that. I like that though. Because that kind of thing of experience only and getting, and this kind of the things that just happen, they have the ability to be part of something beautiful, or something that you're like disgusted by, or the whole spectrum. It's just experience itself. And we all have that in our day to day. you know um I might be having a great day, out playing, with my daughter, with one of my daughters, out in a park or something like this, and it's beautiful and awesome, and then I might step in a a pile of dog shit. And I mean, is it not? It's what David Foster Wallace loved cliche, and he saw like actual, you know, just undeniable, like ancient truth uh carried forth in cliches. So I think the idea of us, and me, right there, with going to crap itself being, the perfect example of what I'm trying to talk about. That's why I, throw that out there. That he uses that, and uses it in the most effective way. It's wild. David Foster Wallace does it again, right? So what's your impression of it?
of the book as the story as a whole,
Just this story, not the book. Yeah.
just the story.
Yeah.
Um, it was almost like it was like, boy, I really enjoy like these kinds of stories because it's like I can't think about it linearly. I can't think about it like, how was the story, because it's like not about the story. I can't really answer that question straight ahead, because the story is like, it's everything just happening at once. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the experience, and the idea that it's true, like this big looming question of like, is Amber just setting this whole thing up? Is she stalking them? How was she able to send the soldiers before they even met? Like, what, all these questions that are up in the air. None of that really matters once the guy poops in live television and everyone sees it. And that is maybe the most like story like element in it. The fact, or cliche, I guess, story element. The fact that the ending was satisfying, actually hit right when it needed to at the very
Yeah.
end.
David Foster Wallace is really good at endings and knowing what he's doing with his storytelling. I mean, it's just awesome. And I was reminded with this story. in the Suffering Channel, the last story in Oblivion, with the first book that he ever wrote is The Broom of the System. There's that kind of surreal, over the top element that, kind of hits you really well, and it just is what it is. And that, David Foster Wallace, I feel like, kind of came full circle back around. He at the height of his powers, even maybe near the end of his career, at some point, I'm gonna read The Pale King. Um, I hear it's brutal
So
because
as
David
like an
Foster
artist,
Wallace. What's that?
as an artist, like his big question had to do with like I don't know under the underlying absurdity of everything. I mean, consider This Is Water, how the absurdity of life is kind of the theme of This Is Water. Not so much the absurdity of life, but our perspective on it being so twisted. Like our suffering is unique somehow when it's just shared,
Right.
just shared in a lonely way is all. Not
Yeah.
everybody's able to like feel everybody else's pain. So
Another aspect of this, then, I mean, and that's exactly right. I mean, there's an aspect of this that is so vulnerable, and Brent being in a vulnerable place, and how he creates what he does, and he's has an apprehension towards sharing it, this kind of stuff, of course, right? But is a single person uh not vulnerable at that point? Or, I mean, when they're, you know in the
or like a dog
in
looking
the
down at
loop,
the cooking from the lawn. Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm reminded of, like, the scene in Unforgiven, where those guys are just held up in there, in this place, and uh Eastwood and his boys and Morgan Freeman are out there just waiting on them to come out to hit the outhouse to kill them. And because that's when they're
Yeah.
going to be vulnerable, is when
That's
they
also
go.
how that's
And,
also how the man got on the end of Blood Meridian. He went to
yeah,
the bathroom.
yeah,
Um, Damn, I better watch out.
it's ridiculous. All right, so there's about, there's 47 minutes on David Foster Wallace's Oblivion, final short story called The Suffering Channel. Is there anything else you want to touch on, PG?
Uh, don't leave streaks in your pants, kids. Use wet ones. Also, I'm really glad to be on this show, man. This is like I don't know if you know this, but your show is like what everyone who reads must converse. This is like what am I thinking of? What's that guy? Charlie Rose. You know what I mean? It's like Charlie Rose is supposed to. You
Dude,
gotta
I
get better
love I
guests.
love having you on, man. This was a great read. And dude, let's figure out another buddy read in the future. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's good. Another one, man.
It's freaking awesome, dude. I love the talk. I love the discussion. The discussion is what it's all about for me. So, we did a good job on Oblivion. Uh,
Well, we did a job. Yeah, we did it.
we did a job.
It was a good read, dude. Really good
Yeah, it
read.
was. Thank you very much, BookTube. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.